The tension in our home has become suffocating, like an invisible storm cloud hovering over every conversation. Ilya's eyes burn with suspicion whenever Maxim's name slips from my lips, a name that feels heavier each time I say it. His drunken rages have grown more frequent, and his words cut deeper than ever before. "Why were you in his room?" He slurs one night, slamming the door so hard the walls tremble. The question hangs there, sharp and accusing, as if my mere presence near Maxime is enough to condemn me. But what can I say? That I went to check on him because of some trivial noise complaint? It sounds hollow even to me, like a weak excuse wrapped in lies. Every day, I feel the fragile trust between us crumbling brick by brick. My heart pounds whenever Ilya looks at me, now not with love, but with doubt. He doesn't yell anymore. Instead, he stares silently, his jaw clenched tight, as though holding back something far worse. And yet, beneath his simmering anger, I sense fear that he might lose me or, worse, discover the truth about my past with Maxim. What would he do then? Would he leave me? Or worse, would he lash out in ways neither of us could take back? What keeps me awake at night isn't just the thought of losing Ilya, it's the shame of knowing how much pain Maxim caused us both. A part of me still blames myself for everything that happened. Those memories haunt me, lurking in the shadows of our marriage like ghosts refusing to be exorcised. When I see Maxim, even briefly, it's as though the years melt away, leaving behind only raw wounds. And terrified Ilya will stop believing in me altogether. Worse still, I worry that once he learns the full extent of my history with Maxim, he'll realize I've been carrying secrets too heavy for anyone to bear. Secrets that could destroy us. And then there's the tape, a cursed relic of the past that Vadim keeps dangling over my head like a sword ready to fall. Does it exist, or is it another weapon designed to torment me? Either way, its existence or potential existence looms large, threatening to unravel everything I've worked so hard to protect. Every moment feels like walking on thin ice, waiting for the crack that will send me plummeting into darkness. The tape, those 4 words, had become a living nightmare for me. Vadim's cryptic warnings about its existence gnawed at my mind like a relentless parasite, feeding on every ounce of peace I tried to cling to. And then there was Igor, the ghost in our past who supposedly held the key to unlocking what lay hidden within that cursed recording. His disappearance only deepened the mystery, leaving behind fragments of clues that seemed designed to torment rather than enlighten. When Vadim finally played a snippet of the tape one evening, it felt as though the ground beneath me shattered into jagged shards. The voice crackled through the speaker, a chilling confession, raw and unfiltered. "I betrayed them all," it rasped, each word dripping with guilt and regret. The room spun around me as I realized whose voice it belonged to. Maxim. My stomach churned, bile rising in my throat. How could he? How dare he put this burden on us now, after everything we'd endured? But more importantly, how much worse would it get if Ilya ever heard it? Vadim watched me intently, his eyes gleaming with something between pity and satisfaction. "You see?" he murmured softly, almost mockingly. "This is why secrets are dangerous." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in before adding, "And this isn't even the full version." I couldn't breathe. Panic clawed at my chest, suffocating me. Every fiber of my being screamed to destroy the tape, to erase its existence entirely. Yet, as irrational as it sounded, part of me feared doing so might unleash an even greater catastrophe. What else did it contain? Who else had been dragged into this web of deceit? Was I complicit in ways I didn't yet understand? That night, sleep eluded me. Images of Ilya's face twisted with rage and betrayal haunted my thoughts. If he discovered the truth, not only would he leave me, but he'd take Artyom away too. Our family would crumble, reduced to ashes just like the employee wing of the hotel. Worse still, Rita's threats echoed in my ears. The old letters are still waiting. She knew something, I was certain of it. And if she decided to expose whatever skeletons lingered in our closet, the tape would be the least of my worries. Katia's world crumbled the moment she walked out of that hospital, her ID badge already revoked and her dignity shredded. The call from Elia's family came just hours later, a torrent of accusations hurled at her through the phone. "How dare you use our daughter like this?" they screamed, their voices trembling with fury. "You're nothing but a gold digger playing house with people who don't care about you." The irony stung. Katia had only been trying to help, following Tatiana's instructions when she handed over her cell phone to Elia. But now, it seemed as though every decision she made was another step toward disaster. Her parents weren't any kinder. When Katya returned home, defeated and ashamed, her father slammed his fist on the table so hard the dishes rattled. "I told you not to get involved with them," he barked, his face red with anger. "Those rich bastards chew you up and spit you out without a second thought." "And what did we say? Didn't we warn you about playing with fire?" Her mother sat silently in the corner, tears streaming down her face, unable to defend her daughter or confront the harsh reality. Katya was now unemployed, broke, and shouldering the blame for something beyond her control. The weight of financial desperation pressed down on her chest like an iron vice. With no income coming in, how would she pay for her brother Dennis's tuition fees? Or cover the mounting medical bills for her grandmother, whose condition worsened by the day? Every option felt like walking into quicksand. She scoured job listings late into the night, but most required experience she didn't have, or connections she couldn't afford to buy. Desperation gnawed at her resolve until one evening, while scrolling through social media, she stumbled upon an ad for a hostess position at a high-end bar downtown. The pay was obscene compared to nursing wages, and the requirements were laughably simple: must be friendly and presentable. But deep down, Katya knew what working there really meant: late nights surrounded by men twice her age, leering eyes sizing her up like prey. Still, the alternative was unthinkable. Without money, her family would collapse under the strain. As she stared at the screen, her reflection distorted in its glow, she whispered to herself, "What choice do I have?" That same night, Rita appeared unannounced at their door, her expression unreadable. "You've made quite the mess," she said coldly, brushing past Katya into the dimly lit living room. "And now you'll clean it up or suffer the consequences?" Sonia's heart raced as she slipped out of the house, her father's voice still ringing in her ears. "If I catch you with that boy again, Munich is off the table." His words were sharp, cutting deeper than any blade. How could he not see how much Dennis meant to her? To Sonia, love wasn't about wealth or status. It was about connection, trust, and understanding. But to her parents, especially her father, it was a transaction, an alliance that must benefit their family name. Every time she thought of defying him, fear clawed at her chest like icy fingers. Yet the pull toward Dennis felt stronger, almost magnetic. The tension between them had been escalating for weeks. When Dennis showed up at her doorstep one evening, flowers in hand, her father stormed out, his face reddened with rage. "Who do you think you are?" he barked, grabbing Dennis by the collar. "You're nothing but a mechanic's son. Get out of my sight." The scene ended with Dennis stumbling backward, humiliation burning in his eyes, while Sonia stood frozen on the porch, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her father slammed the door shut, leaving her alone with the deafening silence of regret. But the fallout didn't stop there. Days later, news spread through town like wildfire. Dennis and his friends had gotten into a brutal fight with Artyom's gang. According to whispers, Artyom accused Dennis of trying to steal Sonia, just to spite him, a claim so absurd it made Sonia sick to her stomach. She knew better than anyone that Dennis wasn't like that. Still, the damage was done. Dennis came home bruised and bloodied, his jaw swollen and his pride shattered. Her father wasted no time escalating things further. "We're suing them," he declared over dinner, slamming his fist on the table. "Those spoiled brats need to learn a lesson." Sonia's mother tried to intervene, pleading for calm, but her father wouldn't hear it. "This isn't just about some stupid fight," he snapped. "It's about respect. If they think they can humiliate our family, they're wrong." Meanwhile, Katya found herself caught in the crossfire. As Dennis's sister, she bore the brunt of her brother's pain and the guilt of working for Tatiana, whose son Artyom was now embroiled in this mess. "Why does everything have to be so complicated?" Katya muttered under her breath, clutching a damp dishcloth as if it could shield her from the storm brewing around her. And then there was Rita, lurking in the shadows, watching every move. "Love always comes with a price," she whispered during one of her uninvited visits. "Just make sure you're ready to pay it." The fire erupted in the dead of night, a merciless inferno that devoured everything in its path. Katya had been dozing on a worn-out couch in the employee wing when she smelled smoke-sharp, acrid, and suffocating. By the time she realized what was happening, thick black clouds already filled the narrow hallway, choking her lungs with every panicked breath. The heat pressed against her skin like an invisible force, relentless and unbearable. Her mind raced. There was no way out. She could barely see 2 feet ahead, let alone navigate the labyrinthine corridors. Then came the sound, a guttural roar followed by shattering glass as Artyom burst through a window, his face streaked with soot and sweat. "Katya!" he shouted hoarsely, his voice barely audible over the crackling flames. Without hesitation, he lunged toward her, grabbing her arm and pulling her toward safety. But this wasn't just about escape. His girlfriend, Sonia's younger sister, was trapped somewhere deeper inside. He wouldn't leave without her. Artyom plunged back into the blaze, ignoring Katya's desperate pleas for him to stop. Flames licked at the walls around him, their orange glow casting eerie shadows across his determined expression. Each step felt heavier than the last, the air growing thicker with toxic fumes. His vision blurred, but he pushed forward, driven by love and desperation. When he finally found her unconscious near a collapsed beam, he cradled her in his arms and staggered back toward the exit. Just before reaching fresh air, his legs buckled, and he collapsed, coughing violently from smoke inhalation. Outside, chaos reigned. Sirens wailed in the distance, and firefighters scrambled to contain the blaze. As paramedics loaded Artyom and his girlfriend onto stretchers, whispers spread among the staff. This wasn't an accident. Someone had tampered with the wiring in the employee wing, a deliberate act meant to harm. And given Katya's recent dismissal and the mounting tension surrounding her family, suspicion naturally fell on her. When Tatiana arrived at the scene, her face pale with shock, she immediately sought answers. Who would do something like this? She demanded, clutching Katya's trembling hand. But Rita loomed nearby, her lips curling into a sinister smile. "Accidents happen," she murmured cryptically, vanishing into the crowd before anyone could question her further. The clock struck midnight when the doorbell rang, an eerie, shrill sound that sent shivers down Tatiana's spine. She wasn't expecting anyone at this hour, and her heart raced as she approached the door. Through the peephole, she saw Rita standing there, her silhouette illuminated by the dim porch light, clutching something in her hand. Against her better judgment, Tatiana opened the door. "What are you doing here?" Tatiana hissed, trying to keep her voice low so as not to wake Ilya upstairs. Rita pushed past her without waiting for an invitation, her heels clicking ominously against the hardwood floor. "You think I'm playing games with you?" She spat, her eyes blazing with fury. In her hand was a small USB drive, which she waved menacingly like a weapon. This contains everything, the final proof of what your precious husband has done. Tatiana froze, her blood turning icy cold. What do you want from me? Haven't you caused enough damage already? Damage? Rita laughed bitterly, pacing back and forth in the living room. I'm just getting started. Those letters I sent to the press were only the beginning. Do you know how much they pay for this little treasure? She tapped the USB drive against her palm, each movement deliberate and taunting. But if you cooperate, maybe I won't release it. Maybe. Cooperate? With what? Tatiana demanded, her voice trembling despite her attempt to stay composed. Her mind raced with possibilities. What could be on that drive? Was it related to the mysterious tape Vadim had mentioned? Or worse, did it involve Artyom or Katya? You'll find out soon enough, Rita sneered, stepping closer until their faces were inches apart. But let me make one thing clear. I'm not leaving this house empty-handed. Either you give me what I want, or I destroy every last shred of dignity your family has left. Tatiana's patience snapped. Get out, she screamed, lunging toward Rita. But Rita sidestepped her easily, grabbing her wrist with surprising strength. Careful, Rita whispered, her tone venomous. You don't want to push me too far. She released Tatiana abruptly, tossing the USB onto the coffee table. Think about it. You have until tomorrow night. Before Tatiana could respond, Rita stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Trembling with rage and fear, Tatiana picked up the USB, examining it under the lamplight. What secrets lay hidden within? And more importantly, how far was Rita willing to go to exact her revenge? The security guard's report sent a chill down everyone's spine. Maxim had been spotted lurking near the employee wing just minutes before the fire broke out, detail that couldn't be ignored. His presence in such a restricted area raised suspicions, especially given his history of manipulation and deceit. Was he involved? Or was this another one of his twisted games designed to torment Tatiana and those around her? The thought alone made her stomach churn with dread. As if the fire wasn't enough, Tatiana woke up the next morning to find her phone missing from her bedside table. Panic surged through her veins as she frantically searched every corner of the room. Her wallet, keys, even the small notebook where she jotted down important thoughts, all gone. It felt like someone had invaded not only her space, but also her sense of safety. She tried to convince herself it might have been misplaced, but deep down, she knew better. Someone was watching her, following her every move, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Where could they be? She muttered under her breath, pacing back and forth in her bedroom. Her mind raced with possibilities. Could Maxim have orchestrated this too? Had he somehow broken into their home while they slept? Or worse, was Ilya behind it all, testing her loyalty after Vadim's cryptic warnings about betrayal? Each theory seemed more sinister than the last. Her unease grew when Rita appeared unexpectedly at the door later that afternoon. Looking for something? Rita asked coyly, holding up Tatiana's missing phone. It's amazing what people leave lying around these days. Tatiana froze, her blood turning to ice. How did you get that? Oh, let's just say I found it. In good hands, Rita replied, her tone dripping with mockery. But tell me, what secrets are you so desperate to keep hidden? Before Tatiana could respond, Rita tossed the phone onto the floor and walked away, leaving behind an eerie silence. As Tatiana picked up the shattered device, she realized its screen displayed a single text message. You're running out of time. The past was a shadow that refused to fade, clinging to Tatiana like a second skin. Every mention of Agor's name sent her spiraling into a vortex of guilt and despair. The man who had once been their confidant vanished without a trace, leaving behind only fragments of his life and one damning artifact. A journal filled with accusations, so explosive they could shatter lives. Inside its worn pages were names Maxim, Vadim, and details about an unsolved murder that implicated them both. It wasn't just words. It was a roadmap to betrayal, a record of sins too heavy for anyone to bear. Tatiana couldn't bring herself to read more than a few lines before the memories crashed over her like a tidal wave. She remembered Igor's face the last time she saw him, haunted, desperate, as though he knew what was coming. And now, years later, his voice seemed to echo in her mind, accusing her of complicity, of silence where action should have been. "Why didn't you stop them?" His ghost whispered whenever she closed her eyes. Her chest tightened, breath hitching as panic clawed at her throat. To escape, she reached for the familiar orange bottle on her nightstand. Tranquilizers, they dulled the edges of reality just enough to let her survive another day. But the pills weren't enough tonight. Rita's visit earlier had left her shaken, the USB drive still sitting ominously on her coffee table. What if Igor's journal was connected to whatever secrets lay hidden within? Worse yet, what if Ilya found out? The thought made her stomach churn. He already doubted her loyalty, thanks to Vadim's insinuations about the tape. If he discovered the depth of her involvement in the crimes detailed in Igor's writings, their fragile marriage would crumble like ash in the wind. Her hands trembled as she opened the journal again, forcing herself to confront its contents. One entry stood out, written in frantic scribbles. "They think they can bury the truth, but blood leaves stains no bleach can erase." Below it, a date the same night Dennis and Ardom had clashed outside the hotel. Coincidence? Or proof that everything was interconnected? As dawn crept through the curtains, Tatiana realized she couldn't keep running from her past. But facing it meant risking everything, her family, her sanity, perhaps even her life. Tatiana stood frozen outside the police interrogation room, her fingers trembling as they clutched the small USB drive. The weight of it felt heavier than any burden she'd ever carried inside were secrets that could destroy lives, unravel families, and expose crimes buried deep in the past. Her mind raced with questions. Should she hand over the documents? What would happen if Ilya discovered what she had done? Could she live with herself knowing she'd sacrificed everything for the truth? Behind her, the distant hum of hospital machines reminded her of Artyom's fragile state. He was hailed as a hero for saving his girlfriend from the fire, but the smoke inhalation had left him weakened, vulnerable. And yet, even more daunting was the moral cost of his bravery. What would he think when he learned about the web of lies surrounding their family? Would he forgive her for keeping so many secrets? Kadia's face flashed in Tatiana's mind next. Her niece had already lost her job because of Ilya's reckless phone call, and now Rita loomed like a shadow ready to strike again. Kadia had two choices: run away and start anew somewhere far from this chaos, or stay and confront Rita head-on. But staying meant risking everything, the safety of her family, her dignity, perhaps even her life. And then there was Tatiana herself. She thought of the tape Vadim mentioned, Igor's journal, and Maxim's lurking presence near the fire. Every clue pointed toward betrayal, manipulation, and danger. If she stepped into that room and revealed everything, she risked losing Ilya forever. Yet silence meant allowing injustice to prevail, leaving wounds unhealed and scars unacknowledged. Her reflection in the polished steel door caught her eye, a woman torn between fear and resolve. "Do I have the courage?" She whispered to herself, the words barely audible. Tears welled up in her eyes as memories flooded back. Igor's haunted gaze, Maxim's cold smile, and the night she promised herself never to let anyone hurt her family again. Suddenly, footsteps echoed down the hallway. It was Rita, walking calmly but deliberately toward her. In her hands was an envelope sealed shut, ominous. "Before you make your decision," Rita said softly, almost mockingly, "read this." Tatiana hesitated, dread pulling in her stomach. Whatever was inside might change everything or confirm her worst fears.